Good day viewers, and welcome back to the channel and to Billy's toy room over here. It's been a while since I've posted now from my Namibia trip on return. I've had to go in for a couple of medical procedures. Our check engine light came on at just before the age of 50 now, and I had to go and get a couple of organs removed. But anyway, I'm on the mend and I'm back to normal again. But I just wanted to do a little short review on the trip that I did to Namibia. And of course the camel, it was loaded up to the hilt. I really did have a tough time in riding through that Kalahari sand with all the weight on board. I just want to go through a few things that I will be changing on the next trip that I end up going on. That's going to be a long loop like I did to Namibia. And the first thing would be baggage, boxes, all that sort of thing. So all the paraphernalia I took with, I really didn't need all of that stuff, and it really added a lot of weight to the bike, and it caused a lot of trouble in that Kalahari sand, as you saw in the videos. I would say that school fees were paid on this trip. I am pleased that I did go with everything that I did go with. I am certainly not going to take as much next time on the trip, but let's go through a couple of the things that I wouldn't take through next time we go through. So firstly, let's take a look at the bike itself. The old camel here that I've labelled it as. This is quite a heavy bike, this GSA. One fantastic thing about it is that the fuel tank range is absolutely phenomenal, and that is awesome for a long trip. However, the boxes and all the kit that you get with it, that you can load it up with, all these top boxes, all the side boxes that I had connected to the sides over here, really and truly speaking, on a long road trip, if you're going to stick to the tar, 100% loaded up to the hilt, take all your luxuries with you, and man, hit the road and go for it. I reckon you're going to love it then. But traveling on a bit of dust, this is something you don't want to do. You don't want to put these boxes on. The weight was incredible. I just took too much stuff with. There were a lot of things that I thought I might do, like camping. If we couldn't get accommodation wasn't a problem. We actually got accommodation very easily, booking in the mornings for the next spot in the evening, or just arriving. You could book in as long as you arrived fairly early-ish in the day. Wasn't a problem at all to get accommodation. So I would certainly not take any of the boxes with if you're going to travel in the dust on your big GS or your big bike, your big adventure bike. I 100% agree with taking with only soft luggage. Rob, if you're watching this, you've already advised me that, and I disagreed. I wanted to go with all that other crap. I should have bought myself some soft luggage. I'm going to be doing that for the next trip, not on the GS, but on the Africa Twin, which we're going to talk about in another video a bit later on. I've ordered some soft luggage for that bike, and we're about to refurbish that one as well. But anyway, that's besides the point over here. The GS, a couple of things I would take with, or would invest in 100%. First thing, my little phone holder over there. This little SP mount, absolutely magic. It comes off, you can pop it onto any bike. If you've got a couple of these mounts, you buy them separately, unfortunately. They are a bit expensive, but it's called SP Connect. What a brilliant connector. This over here didn't budge a millimeter. It vibrates around a little bit, but it is cushioned, and it is absolutely fantastic. I would highly recommend that. Bit expensive, well worth the money though. Didn't lose a cell phone on the trip. Also very nice and easy to put your phone in and out of. You can actually leave it connected to your phone. If you want to, you can buy yourself your special phone case for it as well, whichever phone you own. I've got a couple of cell phones, so I went for the grab one, which grabs at the back. Not absolutely ideal, but it worked fine for me with a small phone case on. If you've got a phone case on your phone, it doesn't grip it too well, except out of the phone case. But I had a little thin phone case which I used, and it gripped it quite nicely. But you can buy the phone case for your phone, which clips into that SP connector, and it is awesome. You can just unclip it, pop it in your pocket, and off you go. What a way to go. SP, you've done a good job there, and I highly recommend those. Secondly, this little tank lock bag over here. What an absolute joy it is to ride with this tank lock bag here. We'll just come around the other side and have a look at it quickly. This little bag, they've got a couple of universal tank locks which you can buy. Givi are probably making a bigger range of those little tank lock clips or the tank lock flanges. I'm just going to pop this off here quickly to show you. But it's just a case of popping that off there and the bag comes off. These little tank lock flanges for the Givi tank bag range, you've got quite a range of flanges that can fit various bikes. This one I've bought from Ugly Bros. I just liked the bag, and unfortunately I think they may only have a flange for the GS at this stage. I haven't been able to find anything to fit some of the other bikes. But this little bag over here, what a pleasure to put all my little valuables in here, unlock the little bag and pop it off with me to wherever I'm having a cup of coffee or wherever I'm traveling. Nice and easy, light. What an excellent bag. What good quality, very rigid the bag as well. Semi-rigid at the bottom but rigid on top. It does unfortunately only have a waterproof cover go over it if it rains, but it worked quite well in the areas we went to. I found that the rain was coming over the top anyway when it did rain, only the one day that we were traveling. But the rain came right over the top. The bag didn't even get wet at all. So that was an absolute must. Yes, expensive, but save up a little bit longer. What a pleasure to unlock this bag off the tank and take it with you when you need it to. The little ones with the straps, I've bought a bag with straps for the Africa Twin that I'm going to be using. Yeah, it is a little bit inconvenient to unhook the straps, and they're a bit dangly there when you're busy carting it around. So I recommend this tank lock bag for your bike if you can get one. What a pleasure. Thirdly, I've got this little handlebars bag over here. This is also a great little bag to have. I just had a couple of essentials in there. Oh, just one or two little items, like little pens, pieces of paper, notes. Crossing borders, you need a pen with you. You need a couple of little bits of stationery. Pack that in there. What a lucky little spot for that over there. And just little things like lighting your fire at night time. I just have everything in the top over there, and it's available on the bike outside wherever I'm staying. Awesome. I've got to travel with some 4Rs, so your glasses case over there fits in there perfectly. That's a lucky little investment that's not too expensive to buy, but buy a good quality. It's really rough and tough, that little bag. You can get quite a few brands out there. The more you pay, the better the quality is, naturally. Goedkoop is duurkoop. Just remember that when buying your bike kit. Right, number 4. These little side bags over here that fit on the crash bars. These I found very, very handy. I must be honest over there. For putting my little cell phone chargers in and wires and cable ties and just one or two of the little essentials that you want to get to quickly, those little bags worked an absolute magic. So for the little add-on little bags like that, I would recommend them just for your little bits and bobs that you want to pop in there and get out easily. Cell phone chargers and cell phone cables, that sort of thing, all lacquer there. I had a couple of Ziploc bags in there for any bad weather that came along and I wanted to cover my cell phones with if I had it in my pocket. And nonetheless, those little bags were great. The little side bags that you can find that also fit onto the side of the bikes and that sort of thing, this little one on the side here, they were very handy as well. I've got them on both sides. This little bag underneath here, which is the puncture repair kit bag, that was handy to have. I've got bags on both the sides over there, and I've just got a bit of lube in there. I've got just a couple of little tools and things in there as well. Nice and easy to pack away, and it's close to the center of the bike, which makes it a bit better when you're putting a bit of weight in there. But that's not going to carry much weight. Top box. I'm not for the top box, I must be honest. I probably would take that on the next trip, purely because I can fit my tools in there. It is going to make the bike a little more top heavy, putting my tools in there. But it would be easier to get my tools in here and just put my raincoats and that sort of thing in there that I need to get to urgently in case of bad weather. And that's what I would use that top box for. But that's personal preference. I don't think that it's necessary to have the top box, but I probably would travel with that the next time. I did find that on the dust, when I had the top box with my tools and just a couple of the bare essentials in there, it wasn't much of a problem at all in the dust or the sand. Yes, a bit top heavier, but from carrying all that weight that I went through in Namibia, it really felt really light to me at that stage. So that's debatable. You decide whether you want to take your top box or not. Soft luggage. I reckon that I would probably go for these little waterproof bags. I've got the Go Gravel. That's this one over here. It's about a 40-litre bag, as you can see there, and it's called Little Karoo, this bag. What a lacquer bag that is. That one really keeps your kit dust-free. It has more space in it than you imagine. When you start packing a couple of things in there, you don't realize how much you can actually fit in there. What a lovely bag. With regards to what I'm going to pack in there, it will be really the bare essentials. I'm basically going to pack my toothbrush, a brush for my hair, or a razor blade, and my underpants and a spare shirt or two. That's it. You're riding every day and you're wearing your riding kit every day. So you don't use all the clobber you bring in with. Really a waste of time taking all your clobber with. I reckon don't even bother. Lastly, on a lot of the adventure bikes, they've got these little toolboxes that fit in nice and snugly over here. I personally have felt this box has been an absolute waste of time. It doesn't fit much in there. If you want to fit your couple of tools in there, the entrance to the little box over here is so narrow, and it's got a couple of little nuts and bolts on the inside of it. It really restricts you being able to put in all your tools and that sort of thing in there. I was only able to put my little Timu pump that I had there for the tires. That's it. I managed to fit another couple of little cable ties in there and whatever is, but you really cannot fit much in there. So yeah, go for that box if you want to. I felt it was a slight waste of time. I could have fitted my Timu pump into my other baggage over there, probably into my Go Gravel bag, and that will be good enough. So that's also a personal preference. Yeah, you think you look quite cool with all the gizmos and gadgets, you really do, but what a waste of time. Did nothing for me. I did do one thing on the bike when I came back from Namibia after falling over a couple of times over there. It is a bit rocky in some areas that we travelled in. If you drop it, your GS especially, you're looking at damaging these side covers and possibly putting a hole in it. I did put some guards on the inside, but I have added some metal ones on the outside as well, just for that added protection as well. Underneath the bike as well, definitely very vulnerable in this area over here. That is your engine casing in the front over there. Wherever I was riding on the off-roads or the dust roads, oh man, the rocks were clobbering that thing left, right and centre. There are a couple of gashes in there already. And so something to protect that front cover over there will be great. Any adventure bike, if you've got a good bash plate, way more better for the off-road. So yeah, what more can I say? Other than that, the Camel did pretty well on that trip over there. And I reckon if I'd done without all the extra weight, I probably would have had a lot more fun on a lot more of the off-road. And as you saw with Trev over there, we did stick to mainly the sort of tar roads because we weren't confident enough on the dust. Initially after falling off once or twice. What I feel you should take with on your trip as well, just as the bare essentials, besides your underpants and your toothbrush and your riding kit, that's it. No more than that, promise you. Something warm, that's about it. All the food I took with and that sort of thing, yes, it came in handy when we did get stuck for a couple of days in the one area. It was quite expensive to eat out if we had to, but it wasn't absolutely necessary. I certainly didn't need as much food as I took with and stored away. Enough to last you maybe an evening and possibly a morning, just to snack on to get you by. That's enough. With regards to a couple of tools and things to take with, I would take with only what is absolutely necessary for your bike. That's going to fit all the little hex screws, a nut and bolt tighten, a nut and bolt here and there. We really didn't have much trouble with the bikes, and we probably took a few too many tools with. I felt more comfortable with that. I'd probably take too many tools with the next trip, but I reckon just take with for something that's going to be, that's something common to break. I don't know, a lever, or bend a lever straight, or to turn a lever right, or I don't know. Just that'd be something of personal preference. Once again, you'd have to decide on your own what to take with, but try not to take too much with. I took all sorts of things like hammers and all, yeah. I just took too much stuff in the tool side of things. I will cut that down, and I will use just really the bare essentials. Another thing on a long loop like that, again, it did cross my mind to take with spare tyres. Now, the mate that was supposed to come with me we may have taken some spare tyres with then. He was going to take a rear tyre and I would take a front tyre. That would give us a spare. That could have got us out of a bind, yes. I did cut the sidewall, so that would have been great to have a spare tyre, but I don't think it's necessary, to be honest. I would carry next time with me a couple of gaiters with my puncture repair kit, and I'll plug that. But what I will do is travel with a tube. I may not travel with tube for the front and the back. I'll probably get a front tube, which I'm sure will be sufficient to fit in the back as well. They should expand enough to fill up some air in the back tyre. I'll travel with one spare tube. Even though I've got tubeless tyres on the Camel, I'll travel with a tube. That would have got me out of a bind that day as well. Of course, in my toolkit, I have got tyre levers and that sort of thing, which I did use on the trip when we did replace the front tyre, because we had a bit of trouble with the machinery that was available there to fit the front tyre. So that was a great help. Do take your tyre levers with. I'd say on the trip, if you're going to do a big loop as well, decide what you're actually going to do. We we took with camping equipment, but purely because I didn't have any know-how. It's the first long loop that I've done, and I didn't know whether accommodation was freely available. I've seen now that on this trip I feel a bit more confident that once I do another trip, I'm quite happy to book in accommodation wherever I can. There is a lot available in the little towns that's not advertised on the internet, and yet when you arrive in the towns over there, you see these little places all over, and they're quite comfortable and reasonably priced as well. So if you're going to go camping on your adventure trip, pack your stuff for camping, pack your little stoves and your little everything else over there. But I would decide over there whether you're going to do camping or whether you're going to stay in a chalet. If you're going to stay in a chalet, leave all the other cuck behind. That was a waste of time bringing with. It was nice to have it, and we really had these ideas of getting into the campsites and having a bit of a tent over one night or two. Firstly, it was too cold, and secondly, we found such reasonable accommodation, it wasn't even worth doing. So decide what you're going to do over there too, and then go with that and only that option. And as I say, finding accommodation and that sort of thing on the trip, it wasn't a problem at all. If you arrived there late at accommodation, if you hadn't booked, yes, it may be a problem because people are getting in, a lot of people or tourists are coming in from overseas in those other countries, and you may struggle to get in. But if you come in there, if you're hitting a short ride for the day and you come in there quite early in the afternoon, we found that accommodation freely available. One thing I am glad I did before my trip was replace my tyres. I didn't realize that when you are doing a bit of traveling on your bony, your tyres don't last too long, particularly the back tyre. I put a new one on before leaving, and we can just have a look over here. You can see that my back tyre is just about finished, and that was just under 6,000 Ks. And so if you're going to do a long loop, make sure your tyres are in good nick. I highly recommend it. I did put new tyres on just before I left. My front tyre, I had quite a bit of mileage left on it, so I didn't replace that one. But quite a good idea to make sure everything is in tip-top shape before you leave. Make sure you're not due for a service as well while you're on the trip as well, because that's going to hassle you once you're on the trip. It's not good to ride these bikes over their services. Definitely make sure even if your service is not due, pull a service on it before you hit a long trip like that. It's going to be worthwhile. Let's talk a little bit too about the trip planning. I, quite honestly myself personally, I did plan quite a bit on what I would take with, and I had just about more of an idea in my mind of the route that I wanted to take. But I must be honest, I did enjoy not planning the trip to the T and to the stop and that sort of thing. It really gave us a lot of leeway to be able to just ride where we wanted to, change our mind the following day and head down another route. That was awesome. So guys, if you're going on an adventure with your adventure bike, I don't see the point of booking in everywhere, unless you're going on a specific trip where you're going to do passes and all that sort of thing, and you want to go to certain places and be there at a certain time. Well, then I'd plan the trip. We gave ourselves the 13 or 14 days to do X amount of kilometers, and the idea was to cover that in a certain amount of time. So we didn't plan it 100%, but we had an idea of the route we were going to take, and from there we were able just to go off where we wanted to, catch the main roads where we wanted to, head off on the secondary roads where we wanted to, and that was a lot of fun, being able to just go whichever way during the day. And it led to some of the great experiences and bumping into a few guys over there. You saw in one of the videos there that we bumped into the Buchte Dust Devils in Keetmanshoop in Namibia, and man, it was a bit of fun being with those guys there. So we wouldn't have seen those guys if we had planned a certain route to get at a certain place at a certain time. So those opportunities you'll miss out on. So I reckon if you're going to do a Lekker loop, my personal opinion, don't plan your stops for the day. You could run into a bit of trouble with mechanical troubles. You could run into a bit of trouble with puncture repairs. You never know where you could end up for the day. Although it's set in your mind where to head up and where to end up, that might not happen. So I preferred the idea of booking in at a place the day that we left, or just finding a place when we arrived, and that was the best. We booked mostly either the evening before or the morning when we left into the next place that we thought we were going to be at, and that worked quite well for us. And I found that was a lekker part of the adventure, just to be able to do that. All in all, I felt that the GS was an absolute master at the long trip. I really did enjoy riding this bike. I really thoroughly enjoyed doing the long stretches on it, and some of the days we did up to 750 k's a day, although we planned only to do about 500 a day. Some of the stretches were a bit longer, but this was an absolute machine and comfortable, and I really just enjoyed the way that this handled all the roads and just the comfortableness of it. It was absolutely magic. Really enjoyed riding this bike on that trip. The one thing that I can say is, if you're going to do some off-road, I would have loved to have been on a slightly smaller bike. That was one of the reasons why I've been looking for that little Africa Twin, which I acquired some months ago. And I've actually started a bit of work on it, but we'll do another video on that one, on what I'm about to do and get that up on in the next video. But I would definitely choose the riding you're going to do. If you're going to do some off-roads and that sort of thing, get yourself a slightly smaller bike. Yes, they're not going to be great on the very long road. I'll be honest, it's going to be a little bit more uncomfortable, but once you hit those dust and the off-roads, they're going to be much more manageable, that bike. And certainly get yourself some soft luggage for the sides. I would do away with the boxes completely. One thing that I found with my boxes on the GS, when I did come short or fall over, fortunately didn't happen, but very easy to get your leg stuck under the boxes when you fall over. And I'm not too sure whether you'd break a leg. Possibly, it's very possible to be able to do that, or injure yourself very badly. The soft luggage would have been a way better option if you come short, especially on these big adventure bikes over there. That's why I recommend maybe going for a slightly smaller bike if you're going to do some of the off-roading trips over there. I would have had a lot more fun on the smaller bike. Yes, it wouldn't. It's a catch-22. It's going to be a bit more tough on the long straights on the tar, but it'll be a lot more fun on the off-road over there. This one was the other way around. I did find a lot of fun on the dust without the weight over there, but it was an absolute gem on the long trip. I just want to also come back to tyres again for the trip. One thing I would have liked to have had was a bit more knobbly tyres, especially going onto the sand. My tyres, which I got, were about a 60-40, which was a Mitas tyres, a 60-40 mix on an off-road over there. I didn't find them fantastic in the dust. I travelled in a bit of mud with them some months before that on the previous set. They happened to be quite great if the road surface was smooth and a bit of muddy. A couple of rocks here and there, that was no problem. But on the pebbles in the dust, I found them very slippery. They didn't have much traction at all. So I'd probably recommend that if you're going to ride on whichever surface, tar, dust, a bit more technical. My personal preference would be to get a bit less lifespan on the tire, on the tar being an off-roady tire or a knobbly tire, and I would have a lot more confidence with the knobblies once you're in the dirt and the dust and the technical. Traction is key, I think, on those dust roads over there, which is something we didn't quite have, even though we thought the tires were the greatest thing to have. Some of the Dunlops, the Trail Maxes, things like that, I think are quite good. I'm going to try a set or two on the GS sometime or other, but once I get to the Africa Twin over there, I think I'm going to be putting probably some sort of knobbly tire on there. I'd rather get a bit less mileage on the tar with them. I know the tar chows the knobblies, but I'd rather have them on the bike to have that confidence once I hit the dust tracks. Let's talk about some of the issues with cell phone signal and reception in areas over there. I did use a road map mainly for plotting out our routes and just following those directions. It was quite easy to look up road signs, as long as you're watching the road and you can see the road signs, that sort of thing. I found that quite easy. But every so often, if we needed to stop somewhere and find a place that we booked into, well, I found that we had to use the Google Maps or the GPSs. My navigator on the GS was not quite up to date. I think we've got to pay for the new maps on it or whatever the case is, which I was too mean for, so I didn't do that. I just thought I'd get by with my Google Maps in those areas. And they worked well, Google Maps, that's fine, 100%, but the problem was cell phone reception. Your Google Maps need to work on cell phone reception, and that was non-existent in most of the places we went to. Even though we had international roaming, local SIM cards as well, they worked quite well, but there was still an issue with connectivity a lot of the time, and very slow to update and for everything to download on the phone. So I would probably what I'm probably going to do is invest in a good GPS. Not too sure which one I'm going to go for, but something that works off satellites and something that I can update the maps on regularly, and just to find my way around a bit easier into our booking places, or just as a just as a general find your way around I would say that the GS's Navigator is great, but I just had I did have some problems with connectivity on it. It is an old unit, but I was aware of that before I left, and I wasn't too worried because I like to use the maps, as I'd mentioned. But I found that it was necessary to have some sort of Google Maps or some sort of navigator at some stage, just here and there. So definitely get yourself a lacquered, either a Garmin or I don't know, anything you can fit to your bike. If you've got a later model bike, well, that's great. Your map's all up to date and that's all working off satellite reception. So that's awesome. But I'm going to invest in a proper GPS that I can mount, and one that's interchangeable between my bikes so that I can use it on either or. That's definitely something that I'm going to invest in. So there you have it from you guys. That was my little short review of my little trip to Namibia and Botswana, or Botswana and Namibia. But there's no right or wrong way about it, guys. I reckon you just climb on the bike, load all your stuff you want to load in. It's going to be school fees or not for you, and you'll know exactly what you want to take with. But anyway, that was my little piece of the review for my little trip, and I'll be changing those one or two little things that I've been mentioning. So until the next video, I will be doing just an update on the Honda Africa Twin that you might have seen previously that I've just recently acquired a couple of months ago. And incidentally, on coming back from Botswana and Namibia, talking about being on a smaller bike, I've been a bit naughty. I've gone and bought myself another new bike, and I have mentioned in previous videos as well, you can go back and check them if you didn't hear about him, of which I had a preference of buying and I was going to save up to buy. I got a bit impatient after coming back from Botswana and Namibia, and I went and sold off one of my prized possessions of the garage here and went and bought myself that bike. Some of you may have seen it in the background every here and there in this video. Go back and have a little quick look over there, and you may have a sneak preview of it. So otherwise, wait until the next videos come up in the following weeks. I will do a little bit of a talk about that one in the weeks to come. So chaps, I do appreciate that you're watching. Give us a thumbs up, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers for now.